This is a place where children come to play. This is a place where play is protected for children. Children get to experience all the seasons. They get to experience all the weather. In fact, we play in rain, we play in snow, we play when it's cold outside.
I just remember when I brought him here for the first time, he jumped into like a pile of balls that were in a table, and I was like, oh no, they're not gonna let him into this preschool because he's just too hands-on, too all over the place. And I remember Brandy saying, wow, look at that, instead of telling him, get off the table, we don't play with the table that way. She just accepted the way that he was playing with that table of balls, and I was amazed because that was pretty much the first time that had ever happened in a school environment for Simon.
I went to school to be a teacher. Once I got into the classroom, a lot of what I knew to be best for children wasn't what I was allowed to do. And so I had to go through a really long journey internally to discover exactly what humans need, not just children.
At Preschool on the Prairie, the child is the curriculum. That means they get to choose what their day is going to look like. As teachers, it's our role to set out a variety of materials that hopefully invite and even provoke children to take some time and to stop and to experiment and to play with the things that are set out. And so within that invitation, we can see several children moving in and out of that space and using the same kinds of materials but doing something completely different with all of those things.
The teachers really met him where he was. You took him where he was and you nurtured him through your invitations of play, all the stations set up inside and outside of the house. And you didn't tell him what to do, you invited him to play, and you guided him and asked him questions so he could make his own decisions about play instead of telling him what to do with his play. And that was the first time I had ever experienced something like that before in a preschool environment.
The free time, the unstructured time in a child's life is so different than it was, even when I was a child. So it's really important that spaces like this exist to allow children to be who they are and to really figure that out. And in order for them to do that, they have to have time and they have to have space and they have to have adults around them that know the difference between safe as necessary, not safe as possible.
As a mother, I started to see myself really want to prioritize safety over risk. And so from the time that my daughter was 2 years old, I was the parent who was, hey, be careful, don't get up on that thing, or don't be this or that. But in some ways I was too overbearing. I was really not letting her explore as much as she probably needed to. And just by entering this program and learning what it means to let the child lead and let the child take risks, it's really changed the way that my husband and I parent our children. It's interesting to see just the differences in generations too, like the way my mom would say to me, like, well, are you taking her to school today on days that were 20 degrees? And I would say, yeah, of course we're taking her to school today. She's gonna be outside, yeah. We're gonna bundle her up and she's gonna be outside, right?
They come home wet and muddy and dirty, and there is so much learning that I know went on through that messy play, and I loved getting a dirty child come home to me because I knew he had learned so much that day.
One of the things we hear most when families are exploring this idea for their children is, I don't want my child to be behind. And I always challenge that with, behind in what? Or behind how? And what I can tell you from my own experience as a parent and as an educator and as a child advocate is that play really is enough.
I just think that without the social and emotional learning that he got here and the independence that he was given to make decisions in his play led him to a place of confidence that he didn't have before Preschool on the Prairie. And he took that confidence into kindergarten and is now able to apply all of those skills that he learned here to learning in kindergarten in a traditional classroom.
My husband and I used to do things like hiking and all these things with our dog, like before we had any children, and we got away from that. I was working a corporate job, he was teaching in the schools, we kind of became like people who lived in concrete walls, right? And just from Ellery coming here, she really taught us that there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. And you know, even now, like if it's 15 degrees outside, it makes no difference to her. She wants to go outside for 10 or 15 minutes. So we bundle up as a family, we go outside. Everything improves when you're outdoors. So I'm not sure we would have had that experience or made those choices had she not fallen in love with being outside.
Learning to cooperate, collaborate, figure out your own problems, have a respect and love for nature, take some risks outside are far more important to the development of a child than just coloring a worksheet. Those things are just so small compared to the richness of the curriculum and all the learning that we have here at Prairie for our youngest learners.
Children at Preschool in the Prairie get to navigate conflict together. They get to show compassion to one another. We believe they're capable of these things, and we give them the time and the space to explore these things. We also give them the freedom to learn how to advocate for themselves and for also the needs of others as well.
It's very, very important that we provide a space for children to be who they really are and to be creative and to be shy and to be brave.
It's an environment that is structured to let kids use their creativity and their imagination that you can't find at any other preschool. And it's learning through play, and that is the best gift you can give to your child.